Hey guys, what's up? It's Umbruhh here, and today I'm going to do another prediction video. So, if you guys saw the Final Fantasy XIV Endwalker reveal, you'll know that Yoshi P announced that the expansion will have two classes, one of them already confirmed, which is Sage, a healer using new lifts, which I don't think anybody knows exactly what they are, but Yoshi P did confirm that the other job they will be adding is a Melee DPS, and today we're going to be breaking down some things and predicting on what the next Melee job will be. So without further ado, let's get started. So when it came to giving hints about what future jobs would be, at the fan fests when he usually announced expansions and information about them, Yoshi P would always wear a t-shirt that would give a hint on what some of the jobs they added would be. Same with what race. For example, during the Heavensward fan fests, Yoshi P wore a Batman t-shirt, which would be a hint for Dark Knight being added to the game, due to Dark Knight also being a nickname of Batman. And then later on he would wear a James Bond 007 t-shirt, which would be a hint for Machinist since they both wield guns. And for the Stormblood reveal, he wore initially a Scarlet Witch t-shirt, which is a character from Marvel Comics, which is synonymous with Red Mage. Scarlet Witch, Red Mage. And at the next FanFest for Final Fantasy XIV Stormblood, Yoshi P wore a Spider-Man t-shirt. Now, aside from the man's obvious love of Marvel Comics, there was another reason behind this: to tease Samurai. And not many people were sure what to make of that, but then people did some research or they kind of came up with their own hints, and they thought the first Spider-Man movies were directed by Sam Raimi. What sounds like Sam Raimi? Samurai! And they correctly guessed that Samurai was going to be the other DPS for Stormblood. And then, a rather funny one, Yoshi P wore a Bugs Bunny t-shirt at one of the Shadowbringers FanFest, which would hint Viera. But now, going to the t-shirt that Yoshi P wore at the announcement showcase, which announced Endwalker, Yoshi P wore a t-shirt of a neighborhood tabloid with Arabic writing with a Grim Reaper saying, "I'll be here if you need me," with the caption, "The Filth and the Fury." So this can mean a couple of things. The Grim Reaper on it could be a hint of Necromancer becoming the next Melee DPS, especially since if you rewatch the trailer, you can kind of make out possibly a scythe resting on Xenos' throne. And if you guys remember the most recent story, Xenos destroyed his weapon in search of a new one. So that could be a hint of Necromancer wielding a scythe being one of the next jobs. Although I don't, and especially since in 5.3 we actually got to fight a Necromancer, however, I don't think this is as likely for two reasons. Because both Yoshi P and Koji Fox were making jokes about Necromancer being the next job in the announcement showcase. If it was going to be Necromancer, they wouldn't be throwing the word around so much and joking around about that. And another reason, because it wouldn't go so well if they decide to go with Necromancer in China. Because in China, death and anything death related is taboo to talk about over there. Like, for example, with the Death Knight class in World of Warcraft, it was heavily censored in the Chinese release, and it was called the Fall Knight or something, and the whole Wrath of the Lich King and Forsaken was very heavily censored over in China, so I don't think Square Enix would try to go that route. But another theory, two different theories, I guess, would be either Templar or Corsair. Now, if you see the t-shirt that Yoshi P was wearing, it had the words "The Filth and the Fury" written on it, and if you search up The Filth and the Fury, you'll see that it is a documentary about a band called the Sex Pistols, and it is directed by Julian Temple. Now, this could mean two things. since it's called Sex Pistols, or the band is called Sex Pistols, that could be a hint about Corsair being added. Although, since we already have a pistol-wielding job in the game, they'd have to find a way to differentiate it. Or it could mean another thing. Remember how I said it was directed by Julian Temple? And remember how people were able to guess Spider-Man being samurai with Sam Raimi? What's kind of is one letter away from Temple? Templar. So what that could mean is Templar would be our next Melee DPS job. Now, I don't think Corsair is as likely to join as Templar is, more considering due to the fact that we already have a pistol-wielding job in the game, but they could find a way to make it different, like they could give Corsair a pistol and a scimitar or a pirate sword. Kind of like how they gave Dancer unique weapons in Shadowbringers, whereas in older Final Fantasy games, Dancer just wields a dagger. And they'd have to do the same for Templar, which Templars in Tactics or other Final Fantasy games that have Templars, they wield either a sword and a shield or a lance. There's two jobs in Final Fantasy that already do that, Dragoon and Paladin. So they'd probably have to find other weapons to suit Templar. So it could be a hammer, a maul, a flail, or dual swords, like anything is possible, and we would use those weapons with the power of holy magic, like Templars would do in the older Final Fantasy games. And I think Templar is more likely than Corsair, mainly due to a recent interview translation that someone did with Yoshi P regarding the new Melee DPS. So in this interview, they were talking about information about Endwalker and other things, and Yoshi P said regarding the new Melee DPS, this is a rough translation, since Dragoon is currently at a special position, if we're only talking about slots, it was natural that we add it there, implying that, or almost confirming, that the next Melee DPS will use maiming gear, the same gear sets as Dragoon, kind of like how Samurai uses the same gear sets as Monk. It kind of seems more likely that a job like Templar would fit that role, since I can't really see heavy armor being used on a job like Corsair, which is supposed to be the pirate job. So with all of that taken into account, I think Templar is most likely going to be the next Melee DPS for Final Fantasy XIV Endwalker. Although it could be Corsair or Necromancer as well, I just think with all things considered, Templar is the most likely candidate. Anyways guys, I hope you all enjoyed this video. Subscribe for more Final Fantasy XIV content. Comment down below what you guys think will be the next Melee DPS job. Follow me on Twitter and Twitch, and I will see you guys later. You guys are the best. Umbruhh, out.